Well, aside from, I'll come to you in a second, but aside from the lakes and trees, which are different than Fargo and Grand Forks, I mean, that's a lot of greens, a lot of plain old ground you can build on. What else is different that Fargo and Grand Forks and those Sioux Falls are growing and we're not growing so much?
Leadership, lack of direction. The city of Duluth just slapshods everything together. When I ran for mayor 8 years ago, back then I was 34 and a loudmouth, now I'm 42 and a loudmouth. I would have saved this town millions of dollars. When I talked about the aquarium, I said, let the people on Canal Park, the people who profit the most if this thing's successful, pay for it. This thing was going to get shoved down our throats whether we had any say or not. If you go back in time, nobody wanted the aquarium, but the powers that be that knew what was best for us patted us on the head and said, watch this, everything will be fine. The first time it missed a note, those business owners at Canal Park, they took off faster than you could say the aquarium. And I'm just telling you what, it's a lack of vision. You see the technology village? I took Mayor Doty to task. I go, here's a guy who does things on handshakes and under the table agreements. There were no tenants for that tech village. We don't talk about it anymore. It's
full now.
With the Children's Theater, it's not for its intended purpose. Why don't we get a group of people, let's use it for what it was, a technology village. Let's find a way to get a whole array of different types of technology businesses in there. We got some in there, but the Children's Theater?
But John, do technology villages need, or do technology companies need a village, or do they need, what else do they need? Because they could operate in a garage.
What as far as?
You used to talk about the technology village being technology only. I mean, I'm just challenging your assumption.
Well, but they could use a garage, but yet you get a group of people that can sit down, identify what kind of businesses could use that space, you contact them. Yeah, if they want to do it out of their garage, at least make phone calls and call out there. Maybe they want to expand out of their garage and go into a different place.
If you're coming to town and you look at our situation here, and you see that we're talking about a $300 million school bonding bill, what are we looking at? That's going to scare a lot of people out here.
Exactly.
Well, I don't think there's been one business who hasn't come to Duluth and said, we're not coming here because of the aquarium. I mean, those things aren't scaring businesses away. It's all these other issues that are going on. The aquarium is...
What are those issues, Tim?
Well, just like Jack talked about, the retiree health care, the bonding bill, the schools, we want to buy a house by east, but we don't know if it's going to be east. We want our kids to be able to walk there, but it might be at Ordine, or who knows if they're going to close Central or what's going to happen. There's all kinds of issues. And we got to face facts too. A lot of people don't want to be in Duluth, Fargo, and some of these other areas have a much longer summer. And that's a huge factor for people. We don't even think about it up here. We can't wait for winter to cool off, but not everyone wants to be here, but there's all kinds of different factors that play a role in this.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah, we brought up some interesting points, I think, in this discussion, and I think that I kind of heard Tim saying, and I don't necessarily think that city government needs to be the #1 economic driver. Maybe it should be a participant in it, but I think what we need to focus on first is that it doesn't hinder business development, and I think that currently our system does. And so I think that the first thing the city needs to do is maybe not think about how do we attract. I mean, these are topics that, yes, we need to talk about, but priority #1 is streamlining the system so that businesses that exist here now can find it easier to operate and grow. And then when businesses do come to town, they will find a process that doesn't slow them down. It's a process that allows them to grow as fast as their prosperity of their business can grow. And I mean, I can use just a small example of a friend of mine that opened a restaurant. He wanted to have seating outside. He goes down to City Hall in early April, early spring, and he says, I'd like to have seating out on the sidewalk. And they say to him, yeah, that will probably happen, but no way it's going to happen until middle of August. And so here we have someone who's ready to expand, ready to grow, ready to take in more customers, and the entire season in which this would be possible is simply not going to happen in our current system. And this is something that the decision whether or not there is seating outside actually had to be made, from what I hear, from what I understand, by the City Council. That particular restaurant had to vote. This to me is so overly, it's just too many layers of paperwork when that decision needs to be made by a vote on the City Council. We should simply say, our vision for the city is, if you want to have seating outside, it needs to be this far from the curb. It's got to be made from this quality of furniture in these colors, and if you follow those rules, put the tables out there next week. Simple as that. Let your business grow at the speed in which your business is possible to grow. Don't let the city hold you back.
Okay, so
We had to go through that thing at our restaurant.
yeah.
We had to go back to the city council, and everybody got approval. When I fixed my house where I live in the basement of a gas station now, I had to go to the city council to get a permit to move in there because I didn't have a front yard, backyard, or something setback. I finally got approval, but it was ridiculous.
Okay, so as a counselor, two great examples. Your basement garage. where you live.
On the railroad tracks.
Yeah, it's quite nice actually for those who may hear this on the web. And Tony, your example about the restaurant, good point. As a counselor, how do you change that?
Well, we brought it up. To be totally honest, the mayor's administration is going to be the #1 driving force in whether or not that changes. But what I can promise is to be a voice that tries to push change in that direction.
We have to work with them, whoever it is, him or her.
Okay.
And I brought it up earlier. I mean, I think that the process needs to be based in creating a vision that's long term, so that these decisions aren't reactionary. They aren't decisions that are made as each situation comes up. There's a long-term vision that's well articulated, and then that vision is supported in policy. And so that we're not making decisions based on which restaurants we like or don't like as city councilors. We're making decisions based on this long-term plan and vision for the city. Now, I think that will hopefully also help the overall business climate in this city. And, we talked a little bit about divisive politics. I think that if we're making decisions based on a vision that's been put together from the ground up and not on our individual interests, then it might help move us towards improving those situations.
But one problem with that, and one problem I see with any plan, is it's never going to be that easy. And if we had that plan in place, this restaurant might have not been able to have outside seating at all. And if everything's cut and dry, where they come to the council and they say, well, you can't do it because it says right here you can't do it. I mean, that's the whole point of having the city council, is to make decisions. And Duluth, 50% of the people are going to agree, 50% are going to disagree, and that's just the way it is. It's just a very diverse community, and you see the people that come speak at the council meetings twice a month, like John and some of the other folks. You got half that say this and half that say that, and that's our role, is to assess the situation and to determine whether or not we can somehow justify. Another example is the zoning on Park Point, where somebody wants to build a garage or whatever, but it's going to cross the line by a foot, and it doesn't make any sense that they can't, but yet it says in the zoning code you can't do it. So that doesn't help the economic climate either. If you just say, it says you can't do it, you can't do it. So we have to have some sort of flexibility, and I think that's the key.
Is it okay if I respond? And not to monopolize.
Yeah, then I want to.
Sure, and I'll try and keep it quick. And I don't disagree. I mean, I do think the city council needs to be able to make decisions. But what I have found in my experience with both the comp plan and the charrette revitalization, in other times, when Duluthians are included in the process from the beginning, we have an amazing ability to find reasonable and rational compromise. And I really believe that's true about us as a people, and I believe that if, as often as possible, they're included from the beginning, that we can solve some of these issues. Of course, there's going to be things that come up that the council needs to look at specifically. And yes, we should never give up that ability, to use common sense, and if what is written doesn't work, that's okay. But we could definitely streamline a process, and I propose that building policy from the ground up is one way of doing it.
Anybody else want to respond to this before?
Just quickly, the tech center, if you want to sell chocolates out of that building, all right, more power to you. I like to see the Apple logo on each side of that building. And that building's wired for technology, and I'd like to see a vision to fill it up.